Hi there guys, got another stubby shotgun to show you. This is another Norinco product, sold here in Canada as a Dominion Arms backpacker. You can see the electro penciling beside the original JW83 markings. And this is a 12 gauge shotgun with a factory made short barrel. In this case it is 13 inches long. So let's start our look at the backpacker from the front end, which is sort of the more impressive end of it. This has got a cylinder bore choke and a brass bead front sight. Got a regular length forend, and the forend has a latch mechanism on the bottom to hold it in place. This is an all steel shotgun, no plastic on it at all. We've got a steel hinge piece, steel receiver, steel trigger guard, and the stocks are some sort of wood. They've been checkered, not necessarily great quality checkering, but considering the price point, I guess that's to be expected. The wood has some kind of a dark, kind of a muddy stain on it. And we've got a ventilated recoil pad, which actually seems to do a pretty good job. It's actually fairly soft, and actually does seem to soak up the recoil fairly well. And you can see the recoil pad is textured at the back. So I've got the gun flipped over. We'll have a look at the other side. Pretty much the same thing to see from the other side. Got a opening lever right here, external hammer. Somewhat unusually, this gun has a crossbolt safety, which I'm perplexed a little bit as to why you would bother doing that on a single shot hammer gun, but there you go. These are kind of a clone to some degree of a Harrington and Richardson single shot shotgun. Anyway, fit and finish is sort of what you would expect from a Norinco, which is to say there are some sharp edges, and the bluing is reasonable, not terribly well finished, but for $99 I guess you can't expect a whole lot. Alright, let's have a little closer look at the receiver. You can see the markings there, 12 gauge, 3-inch cylinder bore. These appear to have been added onto the gun after it was blued, and actually they're kind of sharp. And the markings, I don't know how well that'll show up there. JW83, made in China. And backpacker, which looks like it was added on at a later time. You will see JW83s and JW87 single shot shotguns from China. We've got a external exposed hammer. You can see this piece down below here, that's a transfer bar. So the trigger has to be pulled to transmit the blow across to the firing pin. We've got an external latch here to open the gun up with. Bit of a sharp edge on that. 3-inch chamber, and this gun is equipped with an extractor, not an ejector. So you have to manually pull the shells out when they're fired. Give you an idea of how the gun comes down or takes down. We've got a latch here on the bottom of the forend. Pull the latch up and take the forend off. It's actually a fairly nicely designed latch, although a little bit crude in the materials and workmanship. You can see the color of the real wood underneath here. They got this brown stain on it, and then there's a very light colored wood underneath it, but there's the latch mechanism. Looks pretty sturdy, made out of steel. Looks kind of similar to what you see on a Baikal single shot shotgun. And the barrel looks even stubbier with the forend off. We've got our latching point here on the barrel that's been brazed onto the barrel itself. And this is a non-restricted firearm in Canada because it is a factory-made short barrel, and the overall length of the gun exceeds 26 inches. Most places outside of Canada this would be regulated differently. So there's the underlug or underlump of the barrel, and this pin here moves back and forth, and that operates the extractor. So very simple, sturdy looking setup for the most part. And we'll have a look at the receiver separated from the gun. Serial number is on the bottom of the receiver. It's also stamped on the barrel itself. And very common, ordinary looking single shot receiver there. Hinge pin. Here's our lock underneath, which pivots. See how it moves when the latch is moved. That locks your gun shut. And we've got the fixed breech face. Now there's a transfer bar that keeps the hammer from contacting the firing pin unless the trigger is pulled all the way. So if we pull the hammer back and squeeze the trigger and let the hammer go ahead, we can actually see the firing pin move out from the breech face. You can see how it retracts as soon as I let go of the trigger. The firing pin comes back out of the way. If we cock the hammer back, pull the trigger, and then release it, the firing pin will not protrude because the transfer bar keeps it from coming out into contact with the primer. So that's the safety feature. And sort of strangely, in the way of safeties, this has a cross-bolt trigger blocking safety as well. I'm not really sure why they thought they needed that. That must have been kind of for the American market where there's a lot of lawyers. But anyway, it does have a trigger blocking safety with the safety button pushed all the way to the right. The trigger is blocked, and when you push it over to the left, it allows the trigger to be pushed in. And you can actually cock the hammer on this and apply the safety, and it actually locks the trigger in place to prevent it from being pulled. So kind of an odd setup for a single shot. Usually the hammer alone is considered to be adequate, but we've got a hammer and a safety on this thing, so sort of a belt and suspenders approach. So with the safety pushed over, you can see the hammer will go ahead and snap, firing the gun. So reassembly is the same as disassembly, only in reverse. Just have to hook the barrel lug, the front part of the barrel lug, over the hinge pin. And once we've got that lined up, simply close the barrel up till it locks. Then we have to put the forend back on. And it's a fairly tight fit. You can see that it latches into place there. And we're back together. So pretty easy to assemble or disassemble for storage. So the intended market for this gun in Canada is sort of a bear defense gun for somebody out in the woods who's not necessarily hunting but wants to have a compact, powerful firearm to defend themselves against a bear. You can also use this for hunting purposes as well. A little bit loud for that though. Short barrels are really hard in the ears because of the high pressure gases you get with such a short barrel. So I'm going to show you the length of the barrel there with a tape measure. And like I said, this is a factory made short barrel, and you can see that it's 13 inches long. So it's pretty loud and it throws a pretty big pattern, but that kind of goes with the territory for this type of gun, and that's what makes them attractive for people who are backpacking or hiking or whatever. The short gun is easier to strap onto a backpack and a little more accessible in an emergency. Let's have a look at the overall length of the gun. From the buttstock to the muzzle, it's 28 3/4 of an inch long. So it's well beyond the 26-inch minimum to make it non-restricted in Canada. Now, if you're in the United States, this would be a short-barreled shotgun in that market. And from what I've been told, That would require a $200 stamp to make it, and then I think it's a $5 tax stamp to transfer it. Alright, first shot with the Dominion Arms backpacker, 12 gauge, and we're going to try it at a hand-thrown clay target. Oh, it fires. Alright, let's try another one. Loud as can be expected. These are some targets that somebody else left behind. They're all covered with mud, so they don't throw all that well. We'll try them out. You can actually feel the muzzle blast on your fingers from the short barrel.